Well, we are recording, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. This is one of a few different packs of slides that I use for open houses. I like this one for the beginning of the year to kind of get everybody geared up for spring season. Obviously, there's 1,000 reasons to do open houses. We want to sell the house that we have listed, but if it's not our listing, it is a wonderful opportunity to gain clients and have as many real estate conversations as we can. So open houses are like merchandise displays. Every open house means your store is open for business. The more your store is open, the more leads that you're going to get. You have to put yourself out there. People are not always going to find you. You have to go find where people are. And everybody in consumer land loves to go to open houses. So when I did research to assess the efficiency of open houses, it provoked an interesting question. Would it be worthwhile to do open houses 2 days in a row over the weekend to create more exposure for the home and more opportunity for the team agents? This obviously has language about teams that we're going to ignore. The concern would be, would the open houses feel less well attended? Would this undermine the perception of demand and decrease the buyer's sense of urgency? Would a second day simply dilute the visitors from one day and divert them to another? So the test would be do a number of 2-day open house weekends and track the responses. And the results that I found was that the attendance was even better for both days when they were available. The 2 days allowed more potential buyers to attend in the initial launch weekend, and buyers who were really interested had an opportunity to visit the home multiple times, thereby increasing their certainty. This is something that I have definitely found to be true. Given the opportunity for people to come back, I would say when we're working with buyers, we're always going to have that question of, oh, I really liked that house, wasn't ready. Can we go back and view it? And sometimes, most of the time, that's just not even an opportunity that's available. But this way, with doing 2 open houses on the weekend and even doubling down and going for Friday, can be great opportunities. So for sign in, the more names, obviously, the better. Get everyone to sign in to help make the experience as pleasant as possible. I use a couple of different forms and templates on Canva to do sign in sheets. And I've even got a few that will ask some more additional information. Are you working with a realtor? When are you looking to make a move? You decide what you want to do. They can be branded or not branded. I always make sure that I have the Coastal Town brand on there. But the sign in is important. And I have a tendency, if nobody's come in the first couple of minutes, go ahead and put a name down there. So that does look like whoever does show up might not have been the first to, again, help draw excitement about the property. Marketing, when it's, I say here, standard digital platforms, obviously we're going to market through social media. You can do stories, you can do stuff on your feed. If you're going to share to your realtor business page, you want to share that post, copy it onto your personal page to get as much people to see it as possible. I will even boost one. And when we do boost a post through Facebook, you can really target where you want that to show. So for example, I had one last weekend that was nowhere near where I live. It's an hour away. So I decided to boost the post and I focused it towards a certain age group in Newport News where the house is. And I find that to be really helpful. Incentivize with something special. So I did a little raffle, but there's all kinds of things that you can do here to incentivize. I did a raffle for a Starbucks gift card. Kind of fun, but also if someone's going to take a raffle ticket, you can darn well be sure to guarantee that you have their proper information. So that's why I always like to consistently do one. And I've even had it to the point where people come to multiple of my open houses and remember me for that. So that's a neat thing to be remembered for. And what I'll do is I'll tie up the raffle ticket with maybe a little scratch off lottery ticket. And sometimes I've even put it in a little bag with some candy to share. I think that's nice as well. As far as the neighbors and door knocking, I think that if you don't do this, it's an incredible opportunity missed. If I'm doing an open house on a Saturday, I will door knock on Friday afternoon, evening, or first thing Saturday morning. I come with flyers, and what I've even started doing in the last 2 years is when I door knock, I introduce myself. I let them know that obviously they've probably seen my face on the sign that's in front of the house. This is who I am. And if they wanted to come through, what I do now is I market it as a good neighbor hour. So for like an hour before or an hour afterwards, or even a half an hour, just for the neighbors to come through. And I have found that that really cuts down on, the lollygaggers, the people who come through during the actual hours of the open house, make them feel special by having a separate time just for neighbors. And I ask them to come because, hey, do you have any friends or family that absolutely love the neighborhood you're living in? This is an opportunity for them to get into that neighborhood. So marketing materials available during the open house. There's a lot of different things that you can do here. As far as marketing materials, I like to do flyers, and I will usually co-brand through Total Expert with one of my lenders. Super easy. Just make sure that the lender has your profile picture and license information, and I'll even just shoot them a note earlier in the week. They'll make the flyer for me to approve, and then I can just print it out myself. I like to do that on the glossy magazine type paper. Where it states here to arrive 1 hour early to prepare the house, I actually show up 2 hours early. I definitely need to make some changes here, especially if I'm doing the door knocking beforehand. So a list of local information. Oh, hang on one second. Hey, Jordan. Can you hear me? All right, I'm going to continue where I was. Yeah, I come 2 hours instead of 1 hour. I like to do, obviously, depending on the property, some preparation for the house. I have a little vacuum that I keep in my car, and I do a quick once over, especially if there have been showings before the open house. I always like to hit that. I bring Febreze. I make sure there's toilet paper, even though I don't allow people to use the restroom. You never know who's going to be out of sight. And then I like to either make some popcorn in the microwave, or my favorite thing to do is I cook a massive amount of chocolate chip cookies. I bring a platter, I bring napkins so that people can have them. But the smell of cookies, like subliminally, just really makes people feel like they're in their home. And that's just always been a winner. And then also arriving early to set out your open house signs. We want to make sure that they're not on anybody's private property. You want to make sure that you have directional signs. If you have balloons that you're going to put up or anything, just make sure that you really give yourself enough time to make sure that you get all the open house signs out and about, not last minute, right? We want people to even have the potential to drive by, see the sign, come back from their errands and be like, oh, instead of going home, why don't we stop by the open house? So including a list that shares information about local schools, again, easy enough to do on Canva with some pretty graphics. But what I like to actually do with this is take it and put it in a frame. It's not necessarily something that people want to carry around with them. And then also in another frame, I like to have a list of either other homes that are for sale in the area that are comparable, or even if there are other open houses. Let's go ahead and, be friendly, not competitive. Take a look at our open house, take a look at the other open houses. But with the cookies and the marketing and all of that, I like people to feel like ours is warm, but we don't need to hide that there are other open houses happening. We want to post on Instagram and social media, but we really want to start doing that like Tuesday night, Wednesday before the open house, and being consistent in the days leading up to it. And then the boosted post that I spoke about, I'll boost that the night before. And I find I get some pretty good traction off of those as well. As far as a set playlist, We all have our own music that, we like to, you can brand yourself with it. If you have a certain style, if you're known for like loving country music or whatever. I have a station on Pandora that I use. It's called Bassanova, and it's literally like old school restaurant music. So it's just kind of like there in the background, but it's got a pretty decent beat to it. I recommend everybody check out Bassanova on Pandora. All right, let's come down here. Bear with
So,
me.
Rebecca, have you ever used list reports to get that school information?
I've played around with list reports just to kind of see what it was like.
Okay.
Do
And
you,
did you,
is it something that
I
you
find it,
use?
yeah, I've found that when I've done open houses in the past, I
Mhm.
also, will print it out and put it in frames.
Yep.
Um, or if I've got a listing that's having trouble selling, I get the infographics from list reports about the schools, about nearby restaurants, and good eats and stuff like that, and put them in
Nice.
frames and put them up in the house.
Oh, that's awesome. I
And
haven't.
then that way it does it for you.
Yep. That probably would save me a lot of time. But now I'm getting better with Canva, so I'm trying to use it more and to use
Yeah,
just consistent graphics is what I'm trying to go for these days as far as branding. Um,
yeah.
but I haven't actually printed them out from directly from list reports, so I might actually try that today. Hey, Deja.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing good. I was wondering about the list reports. So if you're not connected with a lender, can you still pull the reports for free?
Say that again.
Uh,
If you're
I'm
not
not
connected,
sure.
okay, okay. I know that you can have list reports like a good free version if you have a lender that's willing to sponsor it with you, but I wasn't sure if you can get that just as an agent.
I think you can. I think there's certain things that you get more for free if you have a lender partner with you. But I'm
Right.
logging in now just to kind of make sure.
Okay, thank you.
Cool.
Right now it's got me partnered with a loan officer, so I may not be the best one. Let's see.
I do want to encourage you to brand with a lender partner. It doesn't have to be the same one every time, but somebody that you can trust. Um,
Mhm.
Mostly because I would say 50% of the people who come to open houses, they've they're just starting their journey and they probably haven't even spoken to a lender. So you're providing them with something that they didn't even know that they needed, but they need. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
And then a lot of lenders will do an open house with you. And I think that that's a really good opportunity. Um, and then I actually have a financial advisor that I work with. She's young, she's exciting. She, like most people, think of a financial advisor as kind of like, a little fuddy duddy and not necessarily super social. But she's
Mhm.
great and she'll do them anywhere in this area. And she's a great person to have there as well because I've put her in front of people that think they're ready to buy. They're really not, based on their credit, based on their savings. But with her in the
Mhm.
picture within a year, she's got them to a point where they actually like have their full amount of closing costs saved. She's really, really good at helping people really get ready, aside from a credit repair specialist.
Awesome. And then I also wanted to pick your brain and see what you thought on the idea of putting out open house signs like the night before instead of like the day of.
So my whole thing is, you obviously, if it's in an HOA or, condo association or anything like that, they have pretty strict rules about that. If your seller
Mhm.
is aware of those rules, that can help guide you. I am not a fan of doing it the night before, because I've had them stolen when I did do that in my first couple of years. And then, you're scrambling last minute. I'm very much of the attitude to put routines and processes in place so that you're not stuck like last minute. But I'm not going to lie, my open house signs live in my car. They pretty much never come out. Um, but what are your thoughts, Jordan?
I mean, it's been a long, long, long time since I've hosted an open house. I used to, and things could very well have changed.
Yeah.
Uh, but I used to find a lot of success in putting them out the night before.
Really?
That
Okay.
way the people had time to drive by, especially like if I would put like tape over the date and time. So Saturday 2 to 4, that way people had time like as they're getting home from work on Friday night, oh, there's an open house that's gonna be this way. Tomorrow
Mhm.
after we run errands, we can stop by.
Nice.
Um, so I would always have like I put like white tape and then write on the tape or whatever,
Mhm.
um, for the date and time.
Sure.
And when I did that and did them the night before, that was when I had the most successful open houses, where we'd get more traffic and stuff like that. But again, this
Awesome.
was pre-COVID when open
Right.
houses were not as popular, and then they kind of came back into full swing recently.
Oh, yeah.
Seems like.
Most definitely. So I'm gonna try. I haven't done that, like I said, since my first year or two. And I feel like somebody told me, like a broker or somebody like that, just be like really careful about it because certain neighborhoods can really, I think it's
Hmm.
situational. Um, but if my one listing doesn't sell by not this weekend, but the following weekend, I am gonna do another open house and I'm gonna do what you said. I'm gonna go ahead and put out the signs the night before and see if that draws traffic.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like you said, you do have to be careful with like the POAs and the COAs,
Yeah, I never
just to
even
make
mess with
sure.
them. Yeah.
Um, but what I did, so I had a condo right before COVID hit that it was the last open house that I helped somebody else host, but I was helping them prep it and get ready.
Hmm.
And we put out all of the signs not in the neighborhood the night before. And then the morning of, because that was the rules,
Hmm.
um, we went and put the signs in the actual neighborhood.
Do you do that in conjunction with door knocking or no?
It depends on the property and it depends on the market.
Yeah, totally.
I've done door knocking before,
Hmm.
but again, that was pre-COVID and it didn't do anything. Like it did zero. Uh, but again, that was when people just open houses were
Yeah.
on the brink of extinction, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have a lot of conversations with agents who, especially like seasoned agents who are like open houses are a waste of time. I don't think that they're a waste of time. I think that, especially in the beginning of your real estate career, it's
Oh,
important
for
to do.
sure.
Yeah, it's important to do because you will get buyers that you end up working with. It's a long game, right? It's a nurture game. But
It is absolutely is. It's so
yeah,
crucial.
but
Uh,
yeah, it's you're feeding your database. Um,
hmm
you get
You're
into
feeding your
front of them,
pipeline.
and
Yeah,
yeah, and then you figure out a way to stay relevant in front of them until they're ready to go. Um,
absolutely.
yeah, but I'll never say no to doing an open house. I think it's important. Now, I mean, side note from all of this, there are absolutely some sellers that do not want open houses. I find it to be more of a situation, well, all of a situation where if they're still living in the house, they don't want to be displaced. If there's dogs, if there's kids, and we have to respect that. I never push it on them, but I'll even like show them my process to say, this is what we're doing. This is why we're doing it. I'll mention that maybe I'm taking a new agent to do it with me so I can show them how to do it and how to get in front of buyers. But at the end of the day, if somebody is adamant against it, hey, that's not a problem. It's their house.
Do you go over the possible risks of the open house with them?
I do. I absolutely do. There's no reason to. I want to be clear about their expectation. Um, Cameras in the home, that's fine. I've always said like I get in front of that whole conversation. There's so much back and forth, but I get in front of it just by putting a sign on the front door that says "Smile, you're on camera,"
Hmm.
and that covers all the bases of that conversation. I have actually put that sign up when there are no cameras. Just
Interesting.
Yeah, because that kind of sets an expectation of behavior for the public that
That's
is
true.
coming in. Um, would I ever like admit that to somebody who's in the house? No. But, but I think that it's one way of like making sure that we're doing the best we can to keep the house secure. I do tell my sellers, take all of your possessions that have monetary value or that are important to you for any reason, either monetarily or whatever they have. What's the word I'm looking for? Personal value. Lock them away or take them out of the house completely. The very best idea is to take them out of the house completely, and that usually kind of, again, sets the tone. I'd like to do open houses as a duo, never really alone, especially on a house that's not vacant. Well, both vacant and not, but if the house is not vacant, I have one of us stays stationary, usually near the sign-in information or whatever kind of giveaway that I'm doing. And then the other agent will walk with buyers who come in who very obviously, and there's a lot of different ways to figure it out, who very obviously don't have an agent either with them or don't have an agent at all. I want them to walk around with them, talk about all the wonderful things in the house, point out all the highlights. It's covered in some later slides. But for one person to stay stationary, I think is really important. And then between the two of you, it's just more eyes everywhere. You don't want to obviously do a open house alone in a vacant property, depending on the neighborhood.
Right.
Because
do you go over the sellers removing the 3 Ps? This is what I always say, even for showings.
What are your 3 Ps?
Remove all prescriptions, protection, and play toys.
That's hilarious.
That's amazing. And I need to write that down and add that to my slides. That's hilarious. I love it.
It gets them a good giggle, but it makes them remember it.
Honestly, yeah, that's very memorable. And that's kind of what we have to do with a lot of real estate, is explain things in a way that people can remember. I would say that like a lot of the slides here, they probably need to be tweaked, and some of them are more of like my opinion about things, but it doesn't mean you have to do things this way, obviously. Like looking at the slide here, I personally don't have people sign in electronically. I like to have people write it out, and as people write their phone number, I'll actually, like if it's on a clipboard, I'll pick up the clipboard and read the number back to them. You can usually catch them if they put it down like a fake number, because they'll almost like correct it before they realize it. Nobody wants to feel like their number is going into a database, even though that is exactly what we're doing. So I find that asking them to write it. I used to try to do the electronic sign in, and I just don't have as much luck. People will pass on it. If the house is not vacant, I will say, you know, we do need to track who's been in the property, as it is still private property. So the owners have requested that we at least have, you know, names and numbers of who's come in and out. And usually people relax a little bit, because like they have to remember that there's human beings who live in that house.
Yeah. I mean, the same is true even for a vacant property. Like, because they're not here, they want to request, you know, who's been in and out.
Exactly. And it's up to us to have the sellers feel secure with what we're doing in their property.
Correct. Yes.
So
definitely.
This comes down to, you know, what I said earlier. I'm not sure if the two of you were listening at that point. I do that if nobody's come in within like the first 10 minutes, I go ahead and I fill it out. It's just a prompt. Nobody wants to be first. So that's why I put that there.
Oh, I do that even before people start showing up. I'm like, yeah, we had a couple early people.
Nice. If somebody does say that they have an agent, I always just ask who it is. Don't be afraid to ask who it is. And about 90% of the time, they don't have a name. If somebody comes in and they actually do have an agent, that agent has prepped them for what to say. Or even like when I have clients who, God forbid, are going to open houses without me, I don't love doing that, but you know, that's how the cookie crumbles sometimes. I make sure that my client has my card, so they can just say, this is the agent that I'm currently working with. But if not, we do kind of need to jump on that opportunity to get in front of them. And I like to do it coming from a place of contribution. If they don't have an agent, like, hey, I'd love to talk to you later. If you've never bought a home before, just to explain what you can expect from the process of buying. And if it's a very busy open house, you won't have time to do that while it's happening. So what I bring with me is, I can't bring it up on here because it's not my computer, but I have a trifold that I made in Canva that's like a very simplistic map of the transaction process for a buyer. And it's pretty and it's graphic and it has all kinds of, it's the stuff that we all know. Get your lender, get your realtor, find the property, put it on off, negotiate, appraisal, closing, get your keys. So I have this as a trifold to give to people who I think are really going to want to be serious and intentional, so that they have that. And then and I'll go into this later, that night I'm calling them and setting an appointment. I don't wait till the next day. I don't ever wait for somebody to reach out to me. I'm literally calling them that night. So side note to all of this, when you say you're doing an open house, it's your day. It's not 2 hours of work. It's not even 4 hours of work, hour before, hour after. I consider it to be a full day's worth of work because I am coming home and I am getting on that phone. I'm following it up with a text message and I'm following it up with an email to every single person who comes in. And that includes any neighbor's information that I get. I find that to be equally as valuable because you get people talking about you, they're going to tell their friends and family if they get a good feeling from you. Sorry, I went on a tangent there.
No, it's all really good.
As taking notes on visitors, I'm constantly trying to do that, but I have caught myself actually being on my phone in front of people. It looks like I'm texting. It looks like I'm not paying attention. So it's a little bit harder. So what I'll actually do is I'll have a separate little clipboard just for myself to take notes on. It's something that I used to do when I was in restaurant management, almost like 3x5 cards. Okay, this name, they told me that they have 2 dogs, or, this name, they came to this open house, but they're actually really interested in this other neighborhood. It's a lot to do. You've got to be hyper focused, but it really helps. People love it when you remember their information. I strongly believe that buyer leads should go to the buyer agent holding the open house. But the caveat with that is if I'm holding the open house and it's my listing and I have another agent with me, I am fine for them to take the lead on that lead while we're there and follow up with the agent to make sure that they have followed up, if that makes sense. If there's a misstep there, that's when I'll step in. But I almost want new agents to kind of use open, I don't want to say as practice, but as like training wheels with me there. Go ahead, start your conversations, get comfortable with what you're saying and figure out how to hook that potential buyer into a future conversation. And then afterwards, talk to that newer agent about what they said, what worked, what didn't work, what they felt comfortable with, because a lot of it comes down to confidence. So I'm always happy to kind of push them a little bit outside of their comfort zone. All right. Follow-up is incredibly important. Same day, following it up, call, text, or video. I'm not huge into the video thing, but I do the call, I do the text, I do the email, and then I will literally follow up over the next couple of days. If somebody isn't talking to me after a week, we all have other things we can spend our time on, but there's still, if I have their accurate information, it's going in a database. And most databases, I know the one that I use Follow Up Boss. It actually tells me when somebody has opened up an email that I've sent them. And I find that incredibly valuable because if they're that way, I know that there's a human on the other end of it. You know what I mean? Regardless of whether or not it's the person whose information I got, there is somebody that's opening that email and seeing my information. So then we put them into our lead management system. And then, so like mine, for example, I've got different like long-term nurture email campaigns. And I have put people on them and basically just set a task to reach out once a month. Even if I still haven't gotten anything back from them, it's one phone call once a month. I had somebody after 8 months of doing this reach back out to me and say, okay, I really appreciate all the emails that you've sent me. I'm ready to sell. And I, at that point, couldn't remember their face, but I had those notes that I took at the open house and was like, oh, I remember you're in a 2-bedroom on Shore Drive and you were thinking about getting into a 3-bedroom. Boom, here we go. I can give you 1,000 reasons why follow-up is important, but it's a huge part of what we need to do, especially coming from the open houses. I like to say that open houses are a form of free lead generation, but if we're going to be honest, we're going to spend some money on the open house, right? Even if it's just the cookies, the flyers, the open house signs, spend that little bit of money to feed your database. So I've got a couple different versions of supply lists. The list that I have in here, like if you do 100% of this, that's amazing. I don't every time. You have to look at this as situational. So if you're going to do the music, I bring my own Bluetooth speaker instead of trying to use like whatever stereo might be in the house. I'm a big believer that like if I don't touch somebody's personal stereo system or even heating, cooling, then I can't break it. So I like to bring my own for any given opportunity. So I do bring a Bluetooth if I need a charger, but I have a tendency to just make sure it's been charged from the night before. Sign-in sheets, of course, always clipboards. I have a bazillion clipboards. I live and die by them. The brochure stands, this is where you could put that list report information. That's where I put kind of like a pretty little template that I've pulled off of Canva with information. And I'll actually also put up one of the flyers that I'm handing out. Go ahead and put it in a stand as well. Branded pens, I'm actually out of them. That reminds me I need to order some more. Obviously a big stack of business cards, but I like to have them on me to hand out. If you've got the lender with you or a financial advisor, of course, they're going to bring their information. The open house flyer. And here, the second one over here, a list of other open houses. Again, I feel like it gives people a little bit of peace that I might not necessarily be a cutthroat type of person. The public does have this idea that we are salespeople. And while we are, we're so much more than that. So being able to share other open houses that are happening. And I'll even say, you know, go to the other open house. And if you have questions, you know, or you want to come back and see something here, this open house ends at 2, but give me a call and I'd be happy to, you know, bring you back in or with your agent. Map of the neighborhood list of schools and the financial flyers. I love to have little, I do small like picture size flyers of renting versus owning, just as a little something that somebody can like slip in their bag and find later. And of course, my information is on the back of it. Branded bottled water, just period, has to happen. It's a no-brainer. I leave some in the refrigerator and I actually will leave some on the counter because there are a lot of people who like room temperature water. And when you're showing that you've thought about that, again, it shows you're not just a salesperson. You know, notepads I haven't done in a while. I used to bring like little mini ones on a mini clipboard if people wanted to take them with them to make notes as they walk through the house. When I say mints or other swag, what I've actually done in the last year, gosh, I wish I had a picture of it, but I can actually send both you ladies. I got this off Amazon. It's a little kit. They're little paper houses that are like, you know, 2 inches by 2 inches by 4 inches that you fold and put together, and you hang a ribbon so you can like hand them out. And I get, I go to the dollar store and I get seasonal stickers. So for the open house that I did last weekend, I actually had, they were stickers of the breast cancer awareness ribbon that were pink, and I put them on the side of them. In March, I'm going to do something green. In spring, I'm going to do something kind of like Easter-ish related, etc. Through the year. Obviously, like July is really easy. We're going to do American flags, but I love to put little stickers to kind of identify what, you know, kind of what part of the year that we're in. And then inside, I always focus heavy on mints. And usually some kind of chocolate or candy, but we always want to be careful about that just because people have so many different diabetic needs. So I do a lot of sugar-free mint stuff. If I have extra cookies, I'll sometimes put them in there as well. And then I include, I'm obsessed with scratch-off tickets. So I include that, and I always joke around like, hey, there's a little scratch-off ticket in there, but you know, give me a call if you win because that's going to be for your down payment. Ha ha. And they usually actually find that to be pretty funny. And then again, additional copies of my card. And previously I have had my card made into like a refrigerator magnet. Go ahead and stick that in there. But I like just the little So they're leaving with like one thing, but it has a bunch of stuff in it. I've become obsessed with those. More supplies. So a lot of these things I actually will keep in my car. I have like different just kits for anything that you might ever need. So I do have like a file folder that always has buyer broker documents, because why not? In case you actually get into a conversation with somebody that leads down that road, let's go ahead and have it. You show you're prepared. But emergency items in my car pretty much covers all of these things. So air freshener spray, I will actually, upon listing a home, just keep Febreze in the house, so I'm not carrying it back and forth to my car. Candles, I actually don't really do anymore, or I'll put out tea lights that are pretty, but I don't light them because so many people are sensitive to that. And it does, I feel, look like you're covering up a smell of something. So I'll put them out there for decor purposes only. Door stops, I usually have them. I have a tendency to leave them. And I discovered a neat little trick. Like sometimes there's that bathroom door to like a hall bath that just won't stay open, right? And you definitely want it open for showings and for an open house. I take a little bit of toilet paper, put it into a ball and stick it underneath the door, and it'll keep it in place. Tape, marker, pens, obviously hand sanitizer. I have always at all times a ginormous one that's in my car, and I like to either leave it in listings or bring it in with me for the open house. Antibacterial wipes, it kind of depends on the property. I will have like a little basket of them on a little table by the door if it's not, the house is not in the best condition. I find that people like that. First aid kit lives in my car at all times, always stocked. Coming to the other side, the hand sanitizer stationery talked about, but shoe covers. I never did this before COVID. And as we all know, shoe covers became like a major thing after that or during. I really like that. I think that it's a nice, again, sign that we're showing respect to the property, even if the carpet is not in the greatest condition. We're doing open houses. There's mud, there's rain, there's snow, there's leaves. So I feel that by showing respect to the home, it's also kind of commanding that from the people that are coming through. Branded doormat, I had one of those years ago. I do need to get another one because they're kind of fun as well. And then masks as needed. I always have masks in my car. Coming back to those shoe covers, you can get like a package of 100 for like $9 from Amazon. And again, I'm always ordering them and I keep them in my car. So when I have like a listing like I currently have where there's really, really nice carpet in this house, again, I'm coming in early and I'm vacuuming the carpet. That's one of the reasons why I go 2 hours early, not one. And then I put up a little stand, like I have a folding table with two little bags, almost like grocery store disposable bags. And in one of them, I put the unused shoe coverings, and I always leave another extra empty one. And then I make a little sign that I tape above it that says, you know, please either remove shoes or use these shoe coverings, booties, whatever you want to call them. And then I put an arrow for new and an arrow for dirty, because it just seems like a lot of open houses that I've been to where people do have the shoe covers, they don't have a place for you to leave the dirty ones. And a lot of people will walk to their car, like kind of forgetting that they have them. And then at the end of the open house, you have pieces of blue material all over the front yard. Saw that once, was like, nope, always going to offer a place for trash, basically. Paper towels, always going to have, I like to put white towels or something with a little design on it. I have my own set of like fancy towels that I bring into the house. Again, this is more if it's vacant. The booties and branded umbrellas. You know, I saw somebody do that a couple years ago. I thought it was really cool. I'm going to look into doing that for coastal town, and maybe a couple people would be interested, but just the really small little fold up ones. Where are we here? The greeting, and obviously everybody's going to kind of have their own shtick to this, their own approach. Always be open. Body language is everything. Folded arms means closed for conversation, for anything. I am diehard about my name tag. It is on the entire time I'm even setting up. You never know who's going to come in. Let's just make it easy for people. This is who I am. come on in. Thank you for coming today. Make conversation. Great to meet you. And lead them, literally physically lead them to the sign-in sheet. And ask open-ended questions. You know, when are you thinking about moving? Lots of different questions that can come out of that. Here's a couple of examples. How did you hear about the open house today? A lot of them are going to say we saw the sign, although I think that these days more they saw it online or their agent sent it to them. Just these are just different suggestions, but we come down here, looks like your phone number is, this is where I was talking about repeating back the number because we can kind of trip people up if they tried to like scribble something and then they're going to come out and correct it without even realizing that they've got it. If they had already said that they had an agent and then tell me again, who is your agent? If they're not bluffing, they're going to have a card for the most part. Always say, I love this, say something nice about the agent that they're working with. That's always super helpful because then they're going to be like, oh, the agent that I have is a great agent, and they're going to feel good about that. And then that agent will get that feedback. And obviously we all want really good co-brokes on the other side of the deal. So more conversations pertaining to how to figure out if they do have an agent or not. A lot of people are just really getting started and it's overwhelming for them. And that's this point where I like to have my little trifold, you know, I know you're just getting started. I don't want to overwhelm you, but I'm sure that you're curious about how this works, purchasing a home. Hold on to this. After you've toured the home, like this is where I might hand them off to another agent doing the open house with me. Come on back to me in the kitchen and let's talk about the information that I just handed to you. But I always try to get them to kind of come back around to me. I like to have a stationary place. Different ways to attempt to obviously close the conversation. You can be as aggressive as you want. You can be non-aggressive, but if you're focused, remembering things that they might have told you about themselves, it's going to make them want to open up and actually talk to you a little bit more before they leave. And that's my main purpose for being stationary, is to be able to kind of have that closing conversation. What are your thoughts on this home? If they want to buy in this area, and especially with this firm, obviously we are not looking to double end deals, but I will be the first one to say I have wonderful buyers agents that I work with at my firm, and I would love to put you in touch with one of them. And I really try hard to kind of get that conversation going. There's always this perception, I don't know if people are reading this on social media or not, that they can come to the listing agent and make an offer for less, thinking that that's going to get them a better deal. And I want to squash that right from the beginning. If we don't, we're really doing a disservice to our own clients. We want to be able to represent our clients' needs and have the buyer's needs represented by somebody else. So double check to make sure that they have filled out the sign-in sheet, best phone number. Just other suggestions here on conversation. Don't shy away from that financing conversation. I think that is incredibly important. And it's great if there's a lender there. Hey, guess what? You know, this is somebody that I work with a lot and I've had great experiences with. And then we come back to the other open house conversation. Setting that callback appointment. What kinds of things are you looking for in a home that this one didn't have? What do you like about the home? I never ask somebody what they don't like about the home, obviously. Talk about a map of the area. You can come back to the open house or at another time, you know, we let you back in or with your own agent. Always make sure that everybody leaves with your card in hand. That's why I do it in that little sweets gift bag. And then this last one here, I'd love to hear what you think about this home or any other homes that you go view today. I would love to give you a call between 7 and 8. Does that work for you tonight? Nail it down and then write it down. Don't forget to actually follow through with that. A memorable goodbye, you know, instead of like waving from across the room. I find that happens a lot. A lot of open houses that I've been to, a lot of the agents that are hosting them, just kind of like from a distance, wave out, but they're not trying to have any kind of closing conversation. Do you have any other questions? I can't tell you how many times people are just happy to hear somebody say that, and give them the time and space to be able to make sure that all of their questions have been answered. And if you don't know the answer to something, if you're hosting an open house that somebody else is listing, this is a perfect opportunity for a hook, right? This is, okay, you know what? I'm not 100% sure of the answer, but let me speak to the agent that's representing the sellers, and then I'll get back to you. Can I call you at 6 o'clock tonight? Always try for the hook. And then, it's always kind of neat to have what I call a neighborhood conversation, or, what I have here is, are you going to the parade for 4th of July? Or, do you have any plans for the holidays? Any planned vacations if they have kids, spring breaks coming up. Find something that's happening in the next month just to continue conversation. And always end with, I really enjoyed meeting you, and I'm looking forward to talking to you later tonight. Again, reiterating that you're going to speak later. Brokers opens, I just want to talk about this for a little bit. We don't see a ton of them here, but they do happen in the luxury market. As an agent who's not hosting that, take the opportunity and go. In our area, it's not just for brokers, it's just not for customers and clients. But these are good opportunities if you have the time, if you're not doing any kind of other real estating, go show up. It's a great networking opportunity. But also to help you learn about our local market. That's a great way to get in there. I like to do Saturdays and Sundays. Oh, hang on. I'm not sure what's going on there. I love to do my open houses Saturdays and Sundays afternoon. 2 hours is okay. 3 hours is better. 4 hours is a little bit long. So between that 2 and 3 hour mark. Again, I've got to fix this. It says 1 hour prior. I'm a bit obsessive, and I do come in 2 hours early so that by the time doors are open, we've had the neighbors come through. And there's almost no point in putting an open house to market like through social media if it's not done by Wednesday. Start on Wednesday and then continue to pump that out on your social media until the event. Where are we here? Whoop. I'm not sure what's going on. Hang on, guys. Other additional things that you can do to help get ready for it, that marketing, again, before Wednesday. I'm going to repeat that over and over and over again. Replenishing all supplies, having everything in your car that's needed, the open house kit, preparing all of your digital copies. Waiting until Friday just leads to stress. Go ahead and get it done on Wednesday. If you're going to co-brand with a lender, especially, it doesn't take any time at all for them to shoot together an open house flyer. Study the other homes that are for sale in the neighborhood. This is really important because the neighbors that are coming in are going to test you, right? People like to think that they know better than we do because of what they're reading on Zillow. So make sure that you're prepared. And even sometimes I'll compare like what our MLS says for what has sold recently compared to Zillow, because Zillow, as we know, is not accurate. But be aware of everything that's currently for sale in the area, regardless of whether or not it's a comp. Just be aware of what is for sale and maybe what has recently gone under contract. It's going to be a little bit difficult to find out what it's gone under contract for because they're not published until we actually close. But know what houses have closed within the past 3 months. And specifically for that, comps. And then we come back to the door knocking conversation. I like to door knock at least 50 doors. It's tough depending on the neighborhood. 2-3 blocks is a better way to kind of sum it up. Sorry, the font on this is pretty small. More about preparing on the day of, which we've gone over. Dressing professionally. I know that we definitely work in an area where our dress code is just a little bit more relaxed than the rest of the world, but I look at an open house as an opportunity not to kind of fall into that standard. And you want to show up the best dressed, not showy, but together. So having that right mindset for the open house, I put this in here because the more you're prepared, the better you show up, the better energy that you have at the open house, and your energy can literally dictate how the open house goes. Again, the list of open house, and then this goes over kind of what I've gone through here before as far as what to bring, what to do arriving early, and the expectations. Making sure that all lights are on, all blinds are open, all doors are open, just alleviates any problems. While anybody's there, the last thing you want to do is hear like somebody's, having a problem with a door or they've broken something. So to get ahead of all of that so that the house is completely ready for people to walk through. I will always open up all doors and leave them open for about 10 minutes because you just need that fresh air. Febreze isn't going to solve all the problems. So this is something that I do in the summer. I put American flags actually like in front of the property. It just draws everybody's eyes. You're going to do the signs around the neighborhood, obviously. If the property is a condo, so you probably don't have a for sale sign outside, you have it in the window because a lot of times they won't allow you to put a sign outside. Use those directional arrows on the open house signs, and double down with a balloon. Get them the night before and they usually will last long enough. Oh, I need to update this. It's a social media Homestat story. Homes.com doesn't have the story function anymore, but I'll still do a cute little video. In this area, one of the things I love is that all the subdivisions have really pretty like brickwork in the beginning of the neighborhood. So I'll take a picture of me, almost like a selfie style, of me in front of that sign. I'll put that up days before on my own story, and then I'll follow that in the story by like the just listed flyer or whatever. But figure out something that you can do on your own story and social media that brands you. So for every listing or every open house that you have, you're doing something similar. Mine just happens to be the little subdivision names. This slide here is more kind of general information for how it's a success separate from all the prep that you've done. Act as a host, right? Act as you are representing the home, the sellers, their want and desire for selling the home. Always remain standing. Please don't sit down. Don't sit down on the furniture. Don't make yourself comfortable, even if there's nobody there. It's just a couple of hours. Stay standing. I will bring my laptop with me in case it's kind of slow, but the moment there's somebody in the house, that laptop is folded and away. So you're not looking like you're too busy to talk to people. Talk to them about the house as you're welcoming them in, getting them to the sign-in sheet. Start to point out, something beautiful in every room. Hand them the flyer. I don't necessarily do the QR code for the details, but I make sure that flyer has the important information as well as like the 3 best pictures of the home. And then direct them to the tour. Again, if they've said they've had an agent, you're just going to point them in the direction of any of the rooms and ask them to connect with you before they leave. Where I have accompanied them with possible, that's when they don't have their own agent. Treat every single visitor as though they're a prospective buyer or seller. This goes for the neighbors as well. And that's the main reason why I love to have them come for Good Neighbor Hour, because they are looky-loos. But if you treat them well, they're going to tell other people about you. Don't sit, don't lean on furniture, don't talk on the phone. I don't use this time to work unless it's literally empty. And I don't chew gum or ever eat anything. Just that comes down to making sure that you're properly prepared. That includes feeding yourself. Afterwards, this is something that I feel a lot of people can miss. Taking down all the flags, bringing everything with you, or if you think you're going to be doing an open house the next day, just making sure everything is neat and orderly in the house. Close and lock the door while you're cleaning up the house, so you're not having people wander in and out. Pack up all of your items. I bring Lysol wipes. I wipe down the countertops, the tables, the doorknobs. I even do the light switches. That's something that came out of COVID, but it's kind of stuck with me. Any changes you've made to the blinds or the curtains, set them up exactly how they were before. Removing all trash. Take your trash with you. Never put it even in the homeowner's trash. Just take it with you, all lights off. Check the windows, check the doors. If you haven't been with everybody who's walked through, there's a possibility that they have potentially opened up a window or a door and didn't tell you about it. Returning the key. Let the seller know right away a summary of feedback. Try to keep it as positive as possible, which is usually not that difficult. And then you have your sign-in sheet. I'd love to take a picture of it. I'm going to bring all the documents with me, but things can get lost, things can get spilled on. So we're going to use that to add to our CRM. And then we're going to call and text and email everyone who came right afterwards. I know it says Sunday night, but I like to do for Saturday, call them on Saturday. For the Sunday people, call them on Sunday. And this is something that I know some agents do and have some success with. I haven't actually done this to myself, but taking a video at the open house, thanking them for coming and then sending it via text. I will sometimes take a short little video of walking through the house right before the open house starts and then posting that on my story. Always be alert. Always make sure, I like to make sure I know where 2 possible exits are. I hate that we have to do this, but we do use a buddy system. That's why I like to have 2 people at every open house. If something doesn't feel right, trust your instinct, get out, call the police. If the home feels like it's been broken into, don't go in. It's never, ever worth it. So things that you can do, obviously, try to get as many open houses done, especially in the spring season, as possible. It's just a great opportunity. There are always agents that might have multiple listings. They can't do their own. I'm sure everybody here has seen that you can, you'll see us post open house opportunities. Pay attention, try to jump on those if you can. And chances are, if an agent who can't do their own open house posts an opportunity in our group, they're going to even let you decide what hours you want to do it. And that's important because you can kind of build it around when you need to do it. Always getting the names, emails, and phone numbers. And as I've always said, that follow-up is important. So that is about it for today. Let's stop recording. Any questions I can help you with?